My name is Afeni. I'm an activist and organizer from DC. I currently work for the Fair Budget Coalition, but very C3ly, they're not endorsing this thing. I also do a lot of work nationally, and I'm really, really excited to be here to support the Butch Ware campaign and all of the campaigns that are being represented here today. Before I get too deep in what I'm going to say, I just want to ground us in what the political moment is. Because the political moment we are facing is bleak. ICE is kidnapping our neighbors off the streets, off of the farms, out of our warehouses. The Voting Rights Act has just been gutted by the fascist Supreme Court. Femicide is on the rise while we have a pedophile in office, showcasing that patriarchal violence has always been within our society and is now being codified and legitimized by our government. Housing, gas, food, all unaffordable, while our government is at war with multiple countries, degrading our global standing and forcing us into a global depression. And let's be clear that these shifts were possible because of bipartisan cooperation. Black political power has always been something that has been built outside of traditional institutions that have been provided to us. And the Butch Ware campaign is an extension of that Black radical tradition of pushing the limits of what is possible, fomenting the ground for social, cultural, and infrastructural transformation. To create a power structure that is made in the image of the marginalized, the downtrodden, and the disenfranchised communities. Tom Steyer is a billionaire who's pretending to be a populist. We do not need to continue to normalize the influence of billionaires in our government. At this time, we need people in office who not only say the right thing, but do the right thing and have showed that they are actually legitimate opposition to the current power structures that we have. And the Democratic Party establishment has demonstrated time and time again that they will not do what this moment is mandating from us. The Black radical tradition calls us into a posture of being imaginative and bold in our solutions to these issues. That tradition calls us to be rigorous in our opposition to injustice, to dehumanization, and the destruction of our planet. There has been a long history of Black working class movements who build power outside of traditional systems. I'm gonna tell you a little story. The Colored Farmers National Alliance and Cooperative Union ran from 1886 to 1891. They were formed in Texas by Black farmers who were barred from white alliances. This organization became the largest political movement in the South before the modern civil rights movement, claiming roughly 1.2 million members. They focused on building economic cooperation and buying power. They did public and political education and also tackling the oppressive crop lien system that really only affected Black farmers and their ability to profit off of their own crops. Their electoral impact was measured through their opposition to the Democratic Party at the time, who was actively trying to disenfranchise Black voters. Does that sound familiar? That's because that has always been their goal. If they cannot capture the Black electorate, they will crush our institutions. The capture of Black voters by the Democratic Party is not a mistake. They are seeking to solidify their power. They are seeking to continue to degrade us and our rights because they know that true Black radical tradition is a liberatory politic for us all. So if me as a Black person, if I think I deserve less, I'm damn sure not gonna think the farmer that's on the farm trying to make ends meet deserves more than I do. I don't think I deserve healthcare, so why the hell do you do? I don't think I deserve affordable housing because I didn't pull myself up by my bootstraps hard enough. But we don't have any boots. We don't have any feet. We ain't got no goddamn ankles. This is a moment where we must hold the line for what we think is most important. And no matter what they try to tell you in the mainstream media, we are winning culturally, rhetorically, and politically in this moment. If we were not winning, they would not be trying so hard. They would not have to be so violent. They would not have to be so oppressive. They would not have to turn up they would not have to turn up their violence and their crushing of our dissent if we were not winning, if we were not powerful. At this time, Governor Butch, see, I'm manifesting. At this time, Butch Ware is being disenfranchised right now by the state of California. They're trying to kick him off the ballot. Why? It's because this campaign represents the will of the people and the policy that the people actually want to see. Housing first, affordable and free healthcare. No copays, no none of that. Just walking in, getting what you need, and leaving. No bills, no emergency room bills. It's $800, $900 that you ain't expect to see. But a real system that is actually here to care for folks. A system that is divested from Zionism. A system that stands up against the oppression of people, not only within our borders, but all over the globe. That is what this campaign represents. And the people want liberation. I don't give a fuck what MSNBC tells you. I don't give a fuck what CNN says. The poll numbers bear it out. You go out, you talk to community members, it bears it out. The people want to survive. And there's a moment right now that there's a fracture happening not only on the left within the Democratic Party, but there's also a fracture that is happening in the right. There's an anti-establishment populist movement. Now, are their outcomes a little different than ours? Possibly. Possibly white nativism isn't necessarily my goal. You know what I mean? But I can get down with the destroying of the U.S. empire, though. I get down with that. This is the time for us to present an alternative vision to what is currently being pushed to us. We are the powerful ones in this society. Our labor, our taxes, and our active faith and participation make this system run. It makes this system go. We are embodying the system every single day. And what this campaign and the larger movement is calling you to do, and everybody else that's at home that may come across this video, it is calling you to embody a politic of care and compassion. It is calling you to embody the society that we actually need to live and to survive and to thrive in. Because our humanity is not based in what we can produce. Our society is not predicated on how much power or how much greed or how many Epstein files they can create. Our society is supposed to be predicated on the care that we have for each other. And the new world that we want, the new society that we would like to see, it exists in the space between us. And the closer we get to each other, the closer we get to that world. The more that we have these conversations, the more we continue to push against the margins, against the edges of what is possible, the more we present our alternative vision. The closer we get every day to being in a society where people can have a dignified life, where people can spend time with their children, where our children are not being kidnapped and put in concentration camps, where Palestinian children are not being starved and bombed, where the people of Iran can have self-determination without the intervention of the West, where the state of Israel no longer fucking exists. Because we are not meant to live on a world where apartheid can exist. Our world exists in all the most beautiful parts of our humanity. And what is amazing about rooms like this, what is amazing when you go out and you canvass and you talk to folks about this campaign, you ask them to write Butch Ware in, you ask them to support the other candidates that are on these slates. What is amazing about that is the love, the compassion, and the understanding that we can all come to as human beings of what we really, truly need in this society. And what we do not need is more billionaires buying up our media institutions. What we do not need is more billionaires getting tax cuts off our fucking backs. What we do not need is another goddamn billionaire in office. But what the people need at this time is that world that exists between us and our connections and our relationships and our humanity. I love y'all.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Afeni. We will now go ahead and take a few questions. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, just go ahead and walk up here, please. Thank you.
Hi, Afeni. Thank you so much for your words. Can you share more about what the Fair Budget Coalition is up to, or no, not here? Is it a national coalition? Is it a regional?
It's very C3, and because it's a campaign event, I can't tell you, but I can tell you. I can tell you in private.
Yeah. Let's talk.
Anyone else? Okay, well, another round of applause, please, for Afeni. All right. We have a very, very special musical guest here. Before we get to her, though, I would like to invite Jordan Rivers up. He is running for Los Angeles City Council in District 15.
Thank you very much. I'm incredibly honored, as I was last right here. And it was a bit slower for the last person, but brilliant. There we go. Brilliant. Can we hear me now? Yes. Thank you very much. Well, I just want to say when I first met Dr. Ware, when I stood up on stage, I said this. I said, you may not have qualified for the ballot, but you qualified for each and every one of us in this room. And I don't think it's up. I think we all know. I think we all know exactly the convoluted nature of these shenanigans that are at play when they try to prevent a candidate of a major party from entering on the ballot when Democrats are running like it's the 2020 primaries. And as long as they stay on long enough, they'll eventually get it. But people are fed up with the two-party system. They're fed up with the duopoly, and they're fed up with one rule for them, another for everyone else, and politics as is, where only the people in the club benefit, but everyone on the outside and the exterior are cast aside and are seen as negligent. And we're tired of being cast aside, and we want someone that speaks up and stands up for each and every one of us in this room, whether they're here or out in the community, regardless of where they are. California needs better, and California needs Butch. So I'm very I'm happy. I'm honored to be able to speak again. So, I said I'd talk a little bit about our district. So our district is the 15th district in Los Angeles, and our district is 100 years old. It was founded in July of 1925. And in those 100 years, we have never, ever had a council member of color. Never in 100 years. Shame. And I think it's very telling because it's not just barriers of entry, but it's also revealing of this. Politics does not feel like it's something for everyone, for communities of color and communities of different backgrounds other than those who have successfully ran and won. And I say we're better than this, but we don't just need something better or different. We also need something else. That's exactly what we need. And so my message is quite simple. Before the district turns 101 in July, on the primaries in June, we have the opportunity to breach that 100-year cutoff and break two color barriers, not just have the first council member of color, but the first council member of the Green Party. That is success, and that is what I think we can all, it's something that would be something that I think we can all appreciate and welcome, because we're not just a brand. We're not a brand, we're a cause. We're a party that's not backed by special interest donors, investors, corporate PACs, lobbyists, you name it. And my opponent, and I run against him with no ill will or no ill feelings. I believe you can be civil and critical and not confrontational. But when your campaign manager is a co-founder of a corporate campaign consultancy firm who was a member of Hillary Clinton's 2008 general primary campaign and bid for president, it's very telling where your priorities are based on those who you surround yourself with. And if you're not surrounded yourself by day-to-day people, I think we can say we've tired of this for 100 years. We're not going to do one more this next century. Once we pass the 100-year cutoff, let's elect something different and let's elect someone from the community. That's what we need. And so we're not just going to pass that threshold, but regardless of the turnout, the number 2 has just been, if you were me in my position, the number 2 has just been incredibly superstitious in this campaign. I'm the second of 3, children. I was born on December 22nd, and we got our petitions in February, which is the second month, but also it's a two-way race. I'm not looking to get in second place, but I am going to say I'm second to none. That's what we want. I want everyone to be able to see. And guess what? We're also, I'm also very generous, and also, because regardless of the outcome in any of this, even if we do come in second place, the reality is that we chose to do something different. And amidst the time where we don't see a lot of young people into politics, I at least wanted to say in 2026 that I actually made the opportunity to stand up and speak out for those in the community who did not feel like they had a voice in those 100 years where we've never had a representative of color. And we need representation that's reflective of the diverse nature and distinct identities of the communities. Because at the end of the day, young people deserve a start. So why not get started somewhere we have a say? Again, my name is Jordan Rivers, and the slogan is Rivers Delivers. Thank you very much. Vote green. And are we doing questions or?
Do we have any questions for Jordan? All right, Jordan, why don't you tell us where we can find you online?
You can find us at Rivers Delivers, FORLA.com. That's Rivers Delivers 4LA.com. Green Party. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jordan. So now I would like to invite a revolutionary spoken word artist, singer, rapper, songstress, and that's just to name a few. We have Frosty 5000 here with us. Thank you so much for coming out.
What's up, everybody? How we feeling today, Los Angeles? I just want to, first and foremost, shout out to the speakers who came on before me. Make some noise for them. I see you. All the way from DC, representing. I love it. My name is Frosty. I'm a Mexica Indigenous MC, singer-songwriter based in Orange County. LA is my neighbor, second home, so it's an honor to be here. Shout out to HTC, Harriet Tubman Center, for always welcoming their doors for the community. I've been here quite a few times for many different events, many different pro-Palestine events, events centered on community. So just want to give my gratitude to them. And yeah, are y'all ready for some hype songs? All right, let's get it. I was at May Day yesterday, the May Day protest, and it's beautiful to see how the community can come together, and it feels like we're a broken record almost, right? I remember one time I was I want to say maybe in high school at a Black Lives Matter protest, and I felt like it was beautiful to be in community, but I felt like being on the street protesting would only do so much, right? It's in the everyday actions that we take that really can make a difference, and people that represent us that can help bring that reality to fruition. So shout out to Butch Ware, shout out to every single person that's part of this campaign, shout out to the Green Party. As an Indigenous person, I recognize the importance of being caretakers for the land, and that's one of the things that I do appreciate about the Green Party. We see that the land is being exploited and these other countries are being exploited. They're not third world countries. They are rich. They are so rich. And the United States empire knows that, and they are exploiting them in so many different ways. So with that being said, this first song is called Know Me. And it goes a little something like this. I hope y'all like it. Can we turn it up a little bit, please? Y'all ready?
You think you
Ain't
know
got
me.
no papers for you to funnel me into your system. Assimilate my soul, a psychological prison. Your religion and all the blood on its hands. Your secret cemeteries, but the spirits still dance. They offered money to our heads, put targets on our backs. So we lived in the shadows with luring plans of attack. You each all you don't know me like that. Say it with me, step back, you don't know me like that. One more time, step back. This is my form of the cream and the broken social agreements. You baby blood-sucking leaders, pervert political leaders, sinning as hard as the preachers. Only God can judge how your heart full of hate, but your mouth speaking love. I don't need to go to heaven, see, I'm calling on your bluff. Maybe we can stop pretending, see, my people had enough. Yeah, it's all one love, but you still gonna duck. Better watch the way you move before they get you
You
with the
think you
blood.
know me?
Yeah, hands up, everybody hands up, y'all. Say power to the people. Say power to the people. Say Green Party. Say Green Party. Say Butch Ware. Say Butch Ware. That's right. Make some noise, Los Angeles. Thank y'all so much. So that track's called Know Me. Shout out to the brothers. I got a handful of Indigenous MCs on that track. It's out on all streaming platforms. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. And I got a lot of love for that track. I also got a lot of hate. I got a lot of trolls. People telling me to go back to my country if I hate America so much, to leave, right? And isn't that the point of America, to have free speech, right? To express dissent when shit is fucked up? Don't you think so? All right, so speaking of, history and knowledge, this next one is actually a new track, y'all. This is a very important moment because I've never performed this track live, and I'm excited to do so. This one's called Walk with Warriors, and it's dedicated to all the women that you were never taught about in your history books. I guarantee it. We got Lozen, we got Romona, Comandante Romona, we got Toypernia, and we got Rigoberta Menchú. Let's get it. I walk with the warriors that are unnamed, unknown, undetected, quiet on the Mustang, shadow of the wind, breath in harmony with the terrain. You know things will never be the same. We're insane cause the current state is maddening. The world within our fingertips, a work comedic tragedy. Her Majesty's the only one I bend the knee for. Madre tierra reina de mi corazoncito, the people. Held captive by this new age tech, hyper surveillance altering our DNA. Resist and overcome the evil weaponized state. Yo estoy lista con mi war paint. I walk with warriors through deserts and forests. Could never capture us because we fight for love. I walk with Lozen, Apache medicine woman whose spiritual strategy provided answers were woven in the fabric of creation, landscape and the nature, a shield to her people. Now no man was ever brave. I walk with Romona, Comandante, mujeres del pueblo siempre luchan adelante, valor y justicia, zapatistas militantes, ley de mujeres revolucionarias, defienden a su tierra y su propia área. Movimiento no tiene cara, tiene calidad. Causa vive siempre por eternidad. I walk with warriors through deserts and forests. Could never capture us because we fight for love. I walk with Toypernia, Gabrielle and Yokish, a woman-led revolt against the missionary. You can take their clothes, take their homes, even their hair, but they gon' keep on dancing as a spiritual prayer. I walk with Rigoberta Menchú, Maya from the highlands of Western Guatemala. The army killed the brother and they sacrificed the father for unifying righteous native power for the peasants. She lived to see it all and was brave enough to tell it, tell it, tell it, tell it, tell it. Tell it. I walk with warriors
deserts and for us could never capture us because we fight for love. I walk with warriors, sing it, through deserts and forests. Could never capture us because we fight for love.
Thank y'all so much. That was unreleased. It's called Walk with Warriors, right? And because so many people, you know, our history books were written out of it, right? So it's important for us to tell those stories because history is so important, right? So if anything, I appreciate art as a craft so I can tell my story from my own perspective, research, and empower those who have been disenfranchised, you know, for thousands of centuries. So with that being said, this next one is dedicated to missing and murdered Indigenous women, people, and children, and everyone who's been kidnapped at the hands of ICE. This one's called Not Exotic. The blood that's in your eyes too much will make the world go blind, mother. Reflects what's on its mind, and the three murdering my beliefs. This, that ancient tribal method of survival. I never thought I'd ever see the Diablo flex the Bible like performative recital, a story of cosmic rivals in eye for an hour. Heavens blind upon a rival, brown feminine disciple teaching lessons of the land, stories of the seed and potent potions of the plants. When the rivers run dry, our tears will fill them up again. We are the stars upon your skin, the shadow of the window, heaven in your heart, resisting genocidal sin. How prophetic can it be coming from mouths of tainted men? Don't you ever forget the prophetess that brought you in, creator of your kid and eighth wonder of the world. Oracles exist inside the hearts of little girls. Don't call me exotic, motherfucker. I'm indigenous, and even in your most evolved state, you couldn't get with this. I'm done being polite, cause shit don't ever get done. I'll die to defend before I ever turn to run. Johnny's got this woman's got a weapon. Word to warrior spirit, being righteous is relentless. Spend his last second census like paying pennies for heaven. But it's free to meet Jamaicans, so let's put all their pretending. The price he'll pay will be a world without apostrophes. He will turn to hell for ever trying to possess me. A deadly daughter of the earth and mother to the masses. Hit you where it hurts. Too much testosterone is tragic. Mercy ain't magic, but it's too late to imagine. Forget about the past as it seems to be a habit. But baby, don't be dramatic, cause I ain't as peace or as panic at the disco. And if it's too complex, suppose I'll break it down real simple. I'm the wave and the ripple, nimble slanging triple sixes on my speaking code and watch for signals. Don't call me exotic, motherfucker. I'm indigenous, so save all your assumptions for that's lacking melanin. Can't stand the heat, then get the fuck up out the kitchen. And don't be testing waters that wasn't yours to begin with. Wanna get specific, but them bones be Mashika. You hear it in my tone, the rhythm bumping in your speakers. I'd be lying if I said it's really nice to meet you. And you'd be dead by now if I refuse to be your teacher. Wave to beat you and eat you and witness as you wipe out. Wash you up the shore where everybody got the lights out. Show you through the land, you got the nerve, say it's mine now. Yes, we in the wildest of the wild, wild west. Put the speakers on blast and let the truth do the rest. See, I'm an old soul, I got a lot to confess. We've been here before 1492. Native to the land, motherfucker, who are you? Got your countenance confused. I ain't here to blow your mind, I'm just here to light the fuse. The blood that's in your eyes too much will make the world go blind, mother. Reflects what's on its mind, and the three murdering my beliefs. Thank you so much, Harriet Tubman Center. My name is Frosty, out here supporting the Green Party, supporting Butch Ware for California governor. It's time to dismantle the duopoly. We don't need more people that are going to talk the talk. We need people that are going to walk the walk. Thank you so much. Y'all have a beautiful evening. Peace.
that quick, not that quick. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where you're going to be touring for the next few weeks?
Hey, all right. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be welcomed to the Neighborhoods Kids Voice of the Revolution Tour. So I got a handful of shows. You can find more information at my website or my Instagram. It's going to be officially Frosty. So you can find all the information at www.officiallyfrosty.com. I got a performance in Santana, one of my hometowns, Santana, May 9th. I got a performance in San Diego, Paramount, LA, right here, and we're going all the way up to Berkeley. So if I know you got people from all over. If you want to welcome an Indigenous Mexica MC to your city, let me know, holla at me, and let's get it. Peace.
Hello, hello. Well, without further ado, we would like to welcome up our keynote speaker, Dr. Butch Ware.
Can we get a round of applause for Crystal, please? And a round of applause for all of the volunteers that have made this event possible. Come on, give it up. A round of applause for the Harriet Tubman Center. Thank you for hosting. And now a round of applause for yourselves for coming out. So we had a very powerful event last night at Midnight Books in downtown Los Angeles. Beautiful gathering. And on my heart throughout the night, when I got up to pray this morning, I was asking myself, what's going to be the subject of this discourse when I know I'm surrounded by family, I know I'm surrounded by friends, I know I'm surrounded by people that have heard me tell my stories, but I know I'm also going to be encountering some that have never heard me speak. So what will I say in such a gathering? And what will I say in such a gathering as the ballots are about to drop? Some of the people in LA County have already opened their ballots, which means that the battle has been joined. The war is upon us. We move from the phase of preparation for combat to active combat. So what would I say to rally the troops, to prepare us for what comes next? For this fight, which is a fight for our very survival. Because understand that in the struggle against the capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist, patriarchal duopoly, we are fighting for the survival of humanity itself. These monsters will destroy humanity, whether through ecological collapse, genocide, nuclear holocaust, or all of the above. So that means we must be clear-eyed in our realization that our political organizing, our efforts to fight back are in a very real way the resistance, the front of the resistance. Now, I am the only political candidate, and I've said this many times, that is not just a watermelon type pro-Palestine person, but the red triangle type pro-Palestine person. So we support the armed resistance of our brothers and sisters in Palestine and in Iran. And I said on Middle East Eye in early 2024, before I got called into electoral politics, that it is not simply a right for occupied people to resist up to and including armed resistance, but it is our moral responsibility to do so as occupied people. So then what is our responsibility here at the Imperial Core? What action can we take today? What can we offer to this revolution, to this rebellion, to this uprising that we know is needed? In the next 20 minutes or so, you guys know that that's like a loose promise. I be going long. I'm gonna walk our way through the moment that we find ourselves embedded in, and how we get to victory. Because unlike some other candidates in this, I'm not running to change the Overton window of discourse. I'm not running simply to organize, although we are running to organize. I'm running to beat these devils. So how are we going to do it? We'll go backwards to go forwards. I'm going to tell the story of Malcolm and me one more time today, but first I'm going to quote Malcolm. Malcolm said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth. It can turn the innocent into the guilty and the guilty into the innocent because it controls the minds of the masses, and that is power. End of quote. What I would add to Minister Malcolm's words in this moment is that the media can turn winners into losers and losers into winners because it controls the minds of the masses. You guys think that we are trailing. You guys think that because they move to knock me off the ballot that we are chasing them. You think that we're behind because they are telling you that we are behind. But the reality on the ground, the reality in community is quite different when you unplug from the matrix. I'm going to close this discourse in a few minutes on that very point, but let me give you some data. Tom Steyer, the billionaire that Sister Afeni was tearing apart just a moment ago. Tom Steyer has donated $122 million to his own campaign. He has spent $38 million on YouTube ads. And the day that they moved to knock me off the ballot in mid-March, all of that money had purchased him a 4-point lead on me in the polls. That's it. And what's more, to this day, Tom Steyer has received exactly $160,000 worth of donations from people not named Tom Steyer. We've raised 3 times that. So who's winning and who's losing? Javier Becerra, the day that Eric Swalwell was forced out of the race, you saw the AstroTurf army of the Democrats get on all of the social media channels and tell you that Becerra's the guy, and that was the tell. You knew who was getting their $7,000 a month check from the Democrats because they told you that Javier Becerra, Mr. Chevron, Mr. Healthcare, Mr. 85,000 immigrant kids lost. That's the guy. That's what they told you. But then when a poll is conducted in an online space with 3,200 respondents by Rogue DNC about who the people would like to hear from at a debate where I was excluded from debating, the poll results were Ware, 45%, Becerra, 33%, Steyer, 17%, Porter, 6%. So where are your people? Your average Emerson or Gallup poll polls about 1,000 people. You have to understand they are paper tigers. They exist only because the media puffs them up. You go anywhere out in these streets, and it is this movement. That is the word that is on people's lips. And there's a reason for that. It's not because of Butch Ware, the candidate. It's because of y'all. And it's because of the policies that we are standing on, are policies that are meant to deliver for the people, because it's all power to the people, because all power is in the people. They are trying to rob your power from you right now by getting you to absorb their narratives. Reject it. It is a form of mental colonization. Do not allow that colonizer any real estate in here or in here. And that is where my story with Malcolm began. I'll tell it again because I know there are some that haven't heard it. But I read Malcolm's autobiography when I was 15 years old. I read it cover to cover in one night. I moved from the bed to the corner to laying down on my stomach on the side of the bed, bathroom break, back to the book. I couldn't put that book down. It was healing things in me that I didn't know were broken, because Malcolm was so brutally honest about what America had done to him. His father killed by white supremacists, his mother driven to madness by the insurance company's refusal to pay. Protective Services takes Malcolm out of the home. He becomes a hustler. He becomes a drug dealer. He becomes a pimp. Malcolm was not just being truthful about what America had done to him, but about what his own hands had done. And I needed that healing because I was into some crazy shit when I was 15. Not gonna lie to you. I grew up in rough neighborhoods, and I was the son of a locksmith that had a 6th grade education, who hustled to pay the bills, and he stayed strapped at all times. God rest his soul. You're gonna write Butch Ware on a ballot, but that was my dad's name. If you go to Georgia, where my father's from, I'm Lil Butch, because my dad was Butch. And I love that man, dangerous though he was. He was hard on a woman, but he was good to his children. And I forgave him for the time that he puts hands on my mama, because I remembered all the times the DC police put hands on him. And I remembered that he was a victim of this same system that was crushing me. So when I read Malcolm's autobiography, I found healing, because he was truthful about what white supremacy was doing to him. And one thing that I want to leave impressed upon every last one of you through this discourse is do the inner work. Tap into your ancestral traditions. Tap into your spiritual traditions, your faith traditions, because all of the organizing will be for nothing if you do not heal from the trauma scars that empire has imposed upon you. Your souls have been scarred by this brutality, by this misogyny, by this capitalism. But we have ways of making people into people in these lands that go back for tens of thousands of years. We have African ancestral traditions, indigenous traditions from all around the globe that made humans into humans before there was any such thing as capitalism. Tap in. And that was the next step in my journey with Malcolm, because Malcolm was healed by Islam. And if it was good enough for Malcolm, then it was good enough for me. I ran out to my public library. I checked out an English translation of the Quran. I read it cover to cover the next night. I converted to Islam before the week was out. That was the beginning of my journey inside my faith. And you'll still see me carrying West African prayer beads on stage all the time. It's part of who I am. I'm doing the work while I'm standing in front of you. And in that Quran, and this is the place where I want to start our story tonight. In that Quran, I learned this sacred truth that is found across all of our faiths and philosophies, all of our sacred and secular traditions, and it has import and weight at this specific moment. It can be summarized with 3 words, and we're going to find out how many people have heard me speak before, because I'm not even going to say the 3 words. It can be summarized by 3 words. So we're going to run that back. I see we've got a lot of new people in the audience tonight. Even my wife didn't say it out loud, and I know she's heard it. All empires fall. All empires fall. So when I tell you to get that colonizer out of your head and out of your heart, stop thinking that we can't win. We are winning, but they have you convinced that the empire cannot be defeated, that the empire is invincible. The empire is doomed. Nothing that is taken by force is ever held. Caesar in the ground, Pharaoh, dust, Nimrod of Babylon in the grave, Cortez, where that nigga at now? 6 feet deep, getting roasted as we speak. So why do I say this? Because the first thing that you have to do is to unplug from the propaganda machine that has you underestimating your own strength, your own internal strength, and your own strength as a movement. Malcolm said, never let your enemy tell you how many of you There are. Never let the man that you are against form your opinions for you. And yet you will hear people telling you, Butch Ware can't win because he's a Green Party candidate. Butch Ware can't win because it's a write-in candidacy. I'm going to tell you by the end of this talk all of the reasons why those are demonstrably false claims. But the question you should be asking yourself is, why the fuck are you listening to these colonizers in the first place? As we say in the West African Islamic tradition, they are not our teachers. We do not take them as our teachers. The only thing that we can learn from these people is how to resist. But I will be lying to you if I told you that the struggle is going to be easy. Amilcar Cabral, one of the great African revolutionaries, he said, "Tell no lies and claim no easy victories." He led resistance to Portuguese occupation in both Guinea and Cape Verde. He was one of the great African socialists, great African revolutionaries. Malcolm, reading his autobiography, that was the birth of a Black radical. I was teaching Amilcar Cabral in a Pan-Africanist revolutionary reading group when I was 19. His words are inscribed in my consciousness. And Cabral said, "Tell no lies, claim no easy victories." I am not going to tell you that this is going to be easy simply because I told you that it's inevitable. Empire is doomed, but it is going to take our sweat. It is going to take our tears, and it just might take some of our blood. And may God give everybody here good health and long life. But sacrifices are required in every revolutionary struggle, whether the kind that are at the ballot box or the kind that are fought with bullets. So you need to understand that this revolution will demand sacrifice from us. The ballots, we were told, go out May 4th. Some of you already have them, but for all of you, may the 4th be with you. Because we are leading a rebellion against empire, aren't we? And remember how Luke Skywalker, he flew that little fighter right into the heart of the Death Star, and then he dropped that bomb right down that little chute, and then the whole thing blew up, right? That's you with a ballot that has Butch Ware written on it. You just drop it right in that box, and the whole system explodes. The whole system explodes. By the time I get to the end of the talk, I'm going to talk about why this election is a critical structural weakness in the edifice of empire. It's the reason why they're going to such extraordinary lengths to try to silence us, because they know that the whole empire can be lost between now and June 2nd. In the next 5 weeks, they can lose everything. We can take it all from them. We can destroy the duopoly. We do not have to wait. We do not have to pawn this imperialism off on our children. We do not have to live through any more capitalist exploitation. We can end it on our watch, not pass it to our children. And they know it, and they're scared, and they are going to do everything that they can to stop it from happening. The empire strikes back, and they've been striking at me like a mother lately. But we still standing because we know that all of that effort at repression, whether it is effort to silence pro-Palestinian speech, whether it is the kidnapping of dissidents, not just immigrants, right? Because they are using ICE as a Gestapo force to also silence speech, to target activists, to target organizers. They're doing all of the things that the Klan and the Nazis have always done with that Klan and Nazi force. We have to be honest about how dark it is out there and be prepared. And all of that repression, all of that violence is a sign of weakness, not of strength. The empire is at its most powerful when its chains are invisible, when the people are asleep. But how many of y'all got woke up in October of 2023, right? How many of y'all have become awakened? Maybe it was May of 2020 when George Floyd got choked out over 8 minutes and 46 seconds, right? Maybe it was before that. Maybe it was the first intifada. Maybe it was one of the 17 times that you got stopped by Minneapolis police before you turned 17 years old. Maybe it was having to translate for your parents who didn't speak English to keep the state from taking away some precious resource from you or your family. But everybody had a moment of realization where the empire was digging its hooks into them. And we woke up. That's why we're in a room like this. But all of these increasing extractions, this increasing violence is the sign that the empire knows it's dying. You are witnessing the extinction burst of American empire. You are witnessing the extinction burst of Zionism. And our organizing efforts will deal the death blow. We have the opportunity to finish them. Would you like to know how? In 3 minutes, one more detour on the way. The detour on the way. The detour on the way is about standing in your truth, whoever you are and whatever your truth looks like. The detour on the way is about, as I said before, getting rooted in community, getting rooted in spirituality, doing the inner work. Because I'm going to be honest, I share a lot of time and space with a lot of leftists, and a lot of us are deeply unhealed individuals. A lot of us think that we can throw a copy of Das Kapital onto a table and that that's going to win arguments for us, right? A lot of us think that organizing is going to be a salve that's going to fix every problem that we have. But a lot of us carry the trauma wounds of empire into our organizing spaces. A lot of us don't do the work, the shadow work, the inner work of healing. And I call on every last one of us to do that work. And yes, do it in the quiet part of the night when you're by yourself, but also do it in community. Also do it through service. Do it through giving away food. Do it through cooking for others, for providing service, for making the tea, for showing up. All of that heals your heart. All of that makes you whole again. And what I learned from Malcolm's autobiography is that you will never be free from your external oppressors as long as your inner demons still run you. As long as the brutality that you have experienced has not been transmuted into purpose, into resolve, into revolutionary resistance and revolutionary love. So rooted, 10 toes down in that understanding that we've cultivated over the last few minutes, a realization that we are not losing, we are winning, that empire is threatened and therefore it responds with force, and that yet we are still bearing its marks inside us. We come together now as a community over this next 5 weeks to transform the trajectory of human history. Why? California is the third largest economy on the planet. The order is China, Germany, California. But California has the highest wealth inequality of any state in the union. There is more wealth concentrated here. 9 billionaires in Silicon Valley control $683 billion worth of personal wealth. And when our team did food distribution to a homeless encampment in San Jose, we were distributing food to people who had nothing within a 30-mile radius of people who possessed $683 billion in their bank accounts. We live in a state that has 186 billionaires in it, and 187,000 people sleep on the streets every night. We live in a state where Gavin Newsom's administration spent $25 billion of our tax dollars over the last 5 years on homelessness alleviation programs, only to see the number of homeless people going from 120,000 per night at the beginning of that period to 187,000 per night now. We'll get to the healthcare in just a minute. He said it though, he said it. Because where did the money go? The money went to the poverty industrial complex. It went to the NGOs. It went to the developers. It went to rich people when it was supposed to be going to poor people, when it was supposed to be going to people like my dad, who spent the better part of 2 decades fighting mental health problems and drug addiction and on and off the streets of DC, and money that was supposed to be going to help people like Butch is instead going into the pockets of Gavin Newsom's developer buddies. The money that we pay to take care of the humblest and meekest in our society. The rich are taking the cut off the top, the cream right off the top. Cash rules. So why do we need universal health care? We need universal health care that's comprehensive of mental health treatment and addiction treatment so that people like my dad could get care. We need everybody, regardless of their status, to be able to walk into a doctor's office when they don't feel good and not have to worry about getting checked for their papers and not have to worry about a copay or a deductible. We have that within our reach now, and they know it. That's why they're so afraid. 70 cents on every healthcare dollar that's spent in the state of California is spent by us already as taxpayers. And 30 cents on every healthcare dollar goes to the healthcare companies who deny us care and just take that money and pocket it. We don't even have to raise the taxes on the billionaires yet to pay for universal healthcare. All we got to do is get the healthcare executives out of the picture. Hashtag free Luigi. And why are they so afraid? Because we have come with a policy of housing first. What's housing first? Housing first is everybody eats before anybody gets seconds, right? We can't have, as we have in the city of San Francisco, 14 vacant properties for every single homeless person that sleeps on the streets in San Francisco. Does that make sense to y'all? Because that don't make no sense to me, right? So what can we do? We can tax the shit out of the private equity companies like Blackstone and BlackRock that hold thousands of properties vacant just so that they can spike home ownership prices and rental prices. And with one magic bullet, hashtag free Luigi, with one magic bullet, we can fix both the rental crisis and the homeowner crisis by getting the private equity out of the way. Because in some markets, it's up to 40% of the market that's controlled by private equity. That stops. And when we do that, when we provide that universal health care and we provide that housing first policy that is taxing those private equity companies so hard that they sell those properties back to the state for pennies on the dollar, lest we seize them via eminent domain. You see, you gotta give them the carrot, but you also gotta give them the stick now, right? Would you like me to take that for nothing, or would you like 4 cents on the dollar? That becomes the basis for our social housing. And when I talk about social housing, I'm not talking about public housing. I'm not talking about the concrete cages that I grew up in on the East Coast. I'm talking about mixed income housing that's distributed through different neighborhoods like they have in Vienna, Austria, or in Singapore, where the average renter pays 20 to 25% of their monthly income on rent. How much y'all paying on rent these days? 70, 80, 100% of the check. Sometimes one person in a couple, their whole check is the rent, right? And then you're trying to just get groceries and bills paid after that. We can end that now. And that's what they're afraid of. They know that in a single election, all of that can be taken from them. And we don't stop there. It's healthcare, it's housing, and then it's human rights. What does that mean to protect human rights? It means that human rights are for human beings, all of us. Whatever your gender identity or expression, your rights are sacred. We cannot use the trans community like a political football the way that the Democrats do. We have to stand for our non-binary siblings. We have to fight for their rights, not move them around the board when it's politically convenient. But most importantly, perhaps in this community, it means fighting for every last one of our rights and civil liberties. And that means standing up to the fucking feds. Now, I'm not one of those people that is going to complain about Trump's ICE. I'm going to complain about ICE because I'm a Muslim and I'm old enough to remember when they invented ICE. It was in the aftermath of 9/11, and they used the rampant Islamophobia in the community as a justification to come for everybody's civil liberties. And people like me were saying, y'all are gonna regret this. You're gonna regret calling every Muslim a terrorist and deciding that you're just gonna hand over your civil liberties to this Gestapo force. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so, right? But I know that that has history that goes long before Trump, and that has been Team Blue and Team Red that have been complicit in that. Trump, for all the theatrics of these contemporary ICE escalations, is still chasing Obama's deportation records. So we need to be very clear that the struggle is not against Trump. The struggle is against the duopoly. The struggle is against the system. Malcolm said of that duopoly, he said, the liberal's a fox. It bares its teeth. You think it's smiling, you're on the menu. The conservative is a wolf. It bares its teeth. It's into a vicious snarl that leaves the black man with no illusion as to where he stands. Malcolm believed that our community, the black community he was addressing, was caught between two predators that differ only in the way that they hunt. One through cunning and guile, pretending to be your friend so we can get up close. The other, sheer force in the confrontation. We need to be prepared for both kind of enemies, but be clear that the hidden enemy is more dangerous to you than the open enemy. The Democrats are more dangerous to you than the Republicans are, and I'll say it every day of the week. Why? Because Malcolm said it. Malcolm said the white liberal is the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. And for the bar to hit the hardest, you have to ask yourself what white conservatives were doing in 1964. Y'all got any answers out there? They was burning niggas. They was hanging niggas from trees. They were turning dogs and fire hoses on black protesters. They were putting bullets in the brains of white voting rights activists and burying them in shallow graves next to Mississippi roads. And Malcolm said what he said, and he wasn't wrong. Because when Gavin Newsom initiates a mandatory draft so that everybody has to go fight for Israel, the liberals are going to be at brunch. They're not going to push back. They're not going to fight back. So we have to push back and we have to fight back. We have to become that resistance, not to Trump, but to the duopoly itself, to the bipartisan duopoly. I'll put this around my neck for a demonstration, because if you make a Venn diagram of the donor base for the Democrats and the donor base for the Republicans, you're staring at a single circle. They play a game in public. My colleague, Fernando de Veras from Santana, he said it's a WWE wrestling match that they stage to get you invested in a fake culture war between blue and red when they on the same side. It's a factional dispute inside a single capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist party. Julius Nyerere, African revolutionary, said it best. He said, of course, the United States is a single party state, but with classic American extravagance, they have two of them. Right? So then where does that leave us? It means that we have to build the option that allows people to get away from Team Blue genocide and Team Red fascism. You know that scene in The Matrix where Morpheus offers them the blue pill or the red pill? Well, I'm throwing both of them pills away and giving y'all the green pill. The one that's not funded by corporations, the one that has no genocide blood in it, the one that's not in the Epstein files. Because both teams, blue and red, are all up in them files because their system is rotten and corrupted to the core, and it is time for a genuine opposition party to come to the fore. I want to close with two pieces of policy that I left out: healthcare, housing, human rights. The human rights piece is, as governor of the state of California, I will not comply with any unconstitutional demands, which means that the feds are going to have to go through every lawyer and law enforcement officer in this state before they so much as touch a hair on the head of any California resident. If I have to have garbage trucks around major cities the way Brendan Johnson did in Chicago, if I have to have chips riding out on them, if I have to have the LAPD following them, if I can provide resources to support NorCal Resist or SB Resist or VC Defensa, imagine what it would be like to have a governor that is not running cover and carrying water for federal abductions of our people, but is instead providing political, logistical, financial resources to our communities as we engage in ICE Watch and rapid response. Do you see it? Because who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. But imagine if the governor, instead of turning a blind eye to the LAPD helping ICE, was prosecuting LAPD for helping ICE and was instead channeling state resources to ICE Watch and to rapid response. Because the thing that y'all don't understand perhaps about me is that I've never done electoral politics before I ran for vice president. I was always an organizer, an activist, and educator first. I don't think that that ballot box is a magic bullet. I think that it is a part of a revolutionary cocktail that the Panthers used, which was mutual aid plus direct action plus electoral power in that order of significance. But if you can have people in positions of power that will stop shoveling shit down on the people, then our mutual aid work is not just shoveling shit off the people. It's maximizing human potential. It's not feeding kids because the kids are fed, so now it's teaching them math. Healthcare, housing, human rights, divestment from genocide. We will lead the divestment from genocide. And that's why they moved to knock me off the ballot, because they were required by their own rules to allow me to participate in the CBS debates, because I was polling ahead of 4 people that were on the stage in the most recent CBS debates. And they used the ballot access as a pretext to get me off. But just be clear, it's a pretext. CBS is run by Barry Weiss, and Barry Weiss was never going to let me get on stage in a CBS debate and say we're going to divest from genocide in Palestine. You do understand that. And the reason is that it is Butch versus AIPAC, because everyone else that's in that field that has a chance to win works for Israel. So they are terrified that we will do what everybody in this room knows that we must do, which is to fully prohibit so much as a penny of our state tax dollars from going to genocide in Palestine or Iran or Sudan or anywhere else. I teach at UCSB, and our students' tuition goes to Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics and Northrop Grumman and Boeing. And the thing that they are most afraid of is that we will end that, because they know that 80% of Californians don't want their tax dollars used that way. They know that 81% of Californians, thanks for the statistics, Gina and Erica, 81% of Californians want universal single-payer health care now. They know that all the things that we are running on are the policies that the people want and need, and they know, and this is the part that maybe y'all don't know, is that the Green Party is actually best positioned to deliver those things for simple reasons. Greens have ballot access in presidential elections in 47 states. No other third party has a third of that access. And some other third parties that do a lot of work online and sometimes show up for protests, I won't mention any 3-letter, have never won an election for any office at any level ever at any time. PSL has never won an election. They don't have a county commissioner, a park and rec director, nothing. In the last 3 years, nationwide, Greens have won 57% of the elections in which we've stood a candidate for office. We beat Team Blue and Red together when there's no money in the equation. Would you like to know what that number of Greens is in the state of California? 78% of elections in which Greens stand a candidate, we win that local election. Where did I start? They want you to think that we're weak. They want you to think that we're losing. And the reason is they know that we're a threat, and they don't want you to know the nature and extent of the threat. They don't want you to know that I've outraised their billionaire candidate. They don't want you to know that I've outraised Tio Taco, Javier Becerra. If you take out his Chevron contributions, if you take out the corporate money and the PAC money, I got my knee on his neck. But they don't want you to know that. Because what they don't want you to know is that you can destroy the system now. Right now, not later. Because with all due respect to candidates that are running to try to shift the Overton window or change the discourse, that's not why I'm running. I'm running to take the power from these people because our communities need our power back. Malcolm said we're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. Kwame Ture said revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems. And what I say is that it is the role of a revolutionary political party to channel the energy of the masses from mobilization around issues like ICE abolition or Palestinian liberation or police brutality to organization against the system that produces all of those forms of colonial violence. Because we are not going to protest our way out of this moment. Kwame Ture said, nonviolent protest is predicated upon your opponent having a conscience, and America has none. Protest is you telling them, we don't like it. They know, that's why they're doing it, right? So they will not stop until we stop them. This is our chance to stop them. I'm gonna give you some figures and then I'm gonna walk off this stage or maybe take questions depending on how much of this time I've used. They don't want you to know that it is only going to take between 1 million and 1.2 million votes between now and June 2nd for me to finish in the top 2 in this primary. Voter turnout is extremely low in primary elections. It's always very low. The good news is that means you do not have to argue with shit libs in the comments section. We don't need their votes to win the primary. Exactly. We don't need their help. All we need is to energize and activate the communities that we serve, the communities in which we are, with which we are in relationship. And I'll tell you one of them that is going to help you understand just how close to winning we are and the reason why they're so afraid. Do you guys know how many Muslims there are in the state of California? 1 million. 1 million Muslims. And do you know what percentage of Muslim Californians voted for me and Jill Stein in the presidential election in 2024? 60%. 60% of Muslim Californians already voted for me to be vice president. You think they're not going to vote for me to be governor? You think it's going to bother them to have to write my name instead of check a box? Why? Because we've been 10 toes down against genocide and protecting our community. So start to do the math and you'll understand why they're so afraid of this movement. Because just by mobilizing the Muslim community, and I'm giving 3 keynote lectures for 3 different SJP chapters over the next 3 nights, right? And we've got Campus Greens chapters that are doing this organizing just by mobilizing the Muslim community, just by activating the 21 Campus Greens chapters that we have started since I began this campaign last year, and getting up the voter turnout in the 18 to 24 demographic where you know that they're already anti-Zionist. Who do you think that they're going to vote for if the choice is between Butch and AIPAC? It's not rocket science. Are you starting to understand why they would be willing to lie in court, falsify documents, mask off? It is not a sign of strength. It is the sign of their weakness. Their days are numbered. But as I said at the outset, there isn't a switch that we can flip. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require commitment from every single person in this room. It's going to require every single person in this room to have those conversations, to join the volunteer corps, to start getting engaged in the field operations, to set a little bit of time aside for text banking, to drop by one of our local places where we'll keep supplies for stickers and literally just start a We Pace campaign. Put Butch Ware for Gov on every single bus stop that you see. Use the Empower app, which you can find information about on our social media platform, which allows you to just engage your own network to get your own people moving politically. Because it is going to take organization to beat them. It can be done, but it can't be done without you. Because in the end, I'm still the son of a locksmith with a 6th grade education. I'm still the same kid that grew up on Spam and syrup sandwiches. I am not trying to carry this weight by myself. Neither am I trying to ventriloquize y'all's voices in your respective communities. My only goal is to help provide leadership so that you can take back the power that rightfully belongs to you. All power to the people.
Don't go nowhere. I know some of y'all were shy earlier, but who has a question? This gentleman right here jumped right on up.
And is there any water? That's the only thing I'll ask.
I just want to ask, how many people do you plan to pardon when you become governor? And then, do you plan on repealing the 1967 Mumford Act that took down a lot of liberators and revolutionaries?
Excellent question. So first of all, my position regarding political prisoners is free them all. When I say some people are for abolishing ICE, I'm for abolishing the police. I'm an abolitionist. So my plans are full decarceration of the state and investing in communities of care instead. And that begins with freeing all of those political prisoners. And with respect to the Mulford Act, listen, let's just put it this way. I am a partisan of the Black self-defense tradition, not just represented by Malcolm and the Panthers, but also in the feminine by Fannie Lou Hamer, who famously said, I don't worry about any white boy throwing a stick of dynamite on my porch because I keep a loaded shotgun in every room, and any cracker that want to do that ain't never gonna write his mama again. So I absolutely, you know the expression, you go far enough left, you get your guns back? Yeah. Yeah.
Also, what are your plans for reparations? What do reparations look like for Black people in California?
Excellent question. The reason why I took Jill Stein's invitation to run for vice president seriously, so just this is context that you don't necessarily need, but I think it helps. Jill asked if I would run for vice president 24 hours after I met her. I interviewed her on Instagram Live, and I asked her 2 questions that made me interested in what she was doing politically. I'll go to the second one and then come back to yours because it was the first. The second one was, I said, I know you're down for Palestinian liberation. I saw you get beat up at a protest, and it's my Palestinian American activist friends that told me to interview you. So I'm not going to ask you about Palestine. I'm going to ask you about your view of American foreign policy. She said, my view of American foreign policy is that we need to dismantle the American empire. And I said, okay, and you better hurry up and do it quick too, before somebody do it for you, right? But the first question was, where do you stand on reparations?
No, that wasn't the question.
No, hold on. I'm coming back to it. Yeah, the first question I asked Jill was, where do you stand on reparations? And she said they behave as though it's incalculable. It's been calculated many times by specialists. It's 14 trillion that's owed to the descendants of the enslaved, and I'm in favor of cash payments. And when I found out that the Green Party had been standing for reparations as part of its policy platform since 2006, that's when I took the invitation seriously. So I have actually received the endorsement of Chris Lodgson, who's one of the founders of CJEC, which is the predominant reparations organization here in the state of California. They don't do institutional endorsements, but he has personally endorsed me. So we are working through the activists that are in that space to bring to fruition the extant plans for reparations, which means establishing descendants of American slavery and actually a register of all of our people so that we know where the reparations can be distributed, and then no more studies, cut them checks. So we will have reparations. And just to be clear on this, a lot of conversations about 40 acres and a mule. This is a debt that is owed to the African-American population. This is not a handout. This is stolen wages. This is a debt that is long since overdue, and it could have been taken care of in any generation. And the goal is to end the generational wealth gap now. The average median net worth of a Black family in Atlanta or Boston is $8. And the average median net worth of a white family in those two metro areas is $250,000. Those are generational legacies of wealth inequalities, and we can get rid of those in the state of California now. Thank you.
I also want to ask, what you said, you do a study of families of freed. So he's like, how far does that go back to? Like, if someone was like 1/16 Black, would it go to him? Or?
So it's lineage. So the way that you can work it so that the Constitution will not be used against you in actually distributing reparations payments is that it is lineage based rather than racial based. So it doesn't have anything to do with a racial category that'll get thrown out of court. And it's one of the reasons why the reparations activist community goes with lineage based definitions, but it's lineage based definitions and people who have politically and socially identified as Black. It doesn't go to 132 people, who live in the suburbs and have been passing for white. What's the girl, Haley Steinfeld from Sinners? She don't get none. She might get invited to some of y'all's cookout, but she don't get reparations. Yeah, no problem.
That's a little. Hi. Hello, I'm Anissa. I'm a volunteer with the San Gabriel Valley chapter. My question for you is, I know that, you're all for, like CalCare, universal like healthcare
Yes.
for here in the state of California, but I wanted to ask that so many people, I'm disabled. I'm disabled. I have fibromyalgia and a bunch of other comorbidities, and one of the issues that I feel like so many people in leftist progressive spaces ignore is how the disability community is so ignored.
Yes.
And I know that you follow her on Instagram, Crutches and Spice.
Imani,
and
she's amazing.
Yeah, and I think so, because we know, like the Democrats, they can spout off whatever, promises to us, but I feel like we don't, there's such an under, served community, and I'm sorry, like
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Fibro brain fog.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like so many people don't understand like how many in the disability community lean like conservative because they see the failure of the Democratic Party here.
Yeah.
Like how long has, the Democratic Party here in California had a supermajority, and yet we don't have universal health care. So like, what is your campaign doing to, reach out to the disabled community?
Yeah, so ever since my endorsement interview with California Disability Leadership Alliance, I've actually been in continuous contact with that group about how I can best amplify their messaging and best show up in service for the disability community. There's two simple reasons for that. The first is that, just to speak plainly, I'm the father of an autistic child who cannot care for himself. He's 15 years old, 6 foot, 190 pounds. If you could bottle whatever he runs on, you'd be a trillionaire because he never stops moving. And I can't, even in my position as a university professor or as a candidate, get adequate care for my son. My beautiful wife, who's not the mother of that child, who's has to chase around a boy that's a foot taller than her, at all times, because it's incredibly difficult to get adequate care. So you have my firm and solid commitment that I will do everything that I can to raise disability, not awareness, but actual political engagement, and provide substantive resources. And then that takes us back to the first part of your question. With 3/4 of the state legislature, so beyond a supermajority, the Democrats just killed CalCare again. Right? And Katie Porter now says that she's in favor of single-payer healthcare, but she has called single-payer healthcare a non-starter for months, and then just suddenly changed when she saw how badly that was affecting her in the polls. So let me just be clear. If you believe that a Democrat, whether the billionaire Tom Steyer or any other Democrat, is ever going to get you universal healthcare, then there's a bridge in San Francisco that I would love to sell you. Because it means you're a chump. It means you're a sucker. Because they play Lucy with the football on Charlie Brown every chance they get. Sorry, is that too old of a reference? Right? So they just pull the football out. They pretend, they tell you that they're going to get it, and then they pull it away from you. So I just want to make it clear. I know that we have the votes. We know that it's an 80-20 issue for Californians, and I ain't waiting for the votes as governor. Day one of my administration, we're declaring a public health emergency in the state of California, and we are delivering universal single-payer healthcare from day one.
Yeah, because I'm on Social Security. I'm unable to work, but Social Security is not enough. It's not enough to live off of. And I was even thinking of, getting a job, but then there's, if I do, then I'm gonna have to possibly switch healthcare insurances and lose all of my specialists that it took me years to find. And I went through so much medical gaslighting from doctors and different specialists that it's heartbreaking.
It's exhausting, and all I can tell you is that in our vision, that we have the practical plan to execute. No one is going to have to worry about staying in a shitty job because they're afraid of losing their benefits, right? There are so many secondary and tertiary outcomes for the people of California that are positive if we just take this one step. And just being able to serve disabled folks or people on Social Security is that's just scratching the surface. I'll give you another one. See, a lot of people think that anti-capitalist means that you're against commerce, but commerce and capitalism are not the same thing, right? I actually am a big fan of small business and encouraging thriving commerce. I come out of the Islamic revolutionary tradition, and one of the sayings of the Prophet's cousin Ali, he said, if poverty was a man, I would have slain him. The goal for me is not to lionize poverty, it's actually to end it, right? I don't want to make a virtue out of poverty. I want poverty to be finished. So that means you have to have thriving commerce, but actually you can do that through universal healthcare. General Motors pays more for its healthcare than it pays for the steel in its vehicles. What's going to happen when California becomes the first place to have free healthcare? Businesses are going to come running to the state of California, but the right kind of businesses. Why? Because if you have universal health care, it also rebalances the power ratio between the large corporations and the small businesses, right? I operated for a long time an LLC, Inca the Scholars. We did teaching work. My wife, first of all, round of applause for my wife, Clementina Aragon. She built all of the administrative structure. We made a lot of money on that, and now it's we transitioned to a nonprofit. It's revolutionary learning community. I don't need the money, so now we just invest it in all kinds of community activities. But why am I mentioning it? We were growing so fast, we wanted to hire a couple of employees. Why couldn't we? because I couldn't afford the benefits. So what happens if small businesses and large corporations are on the same footing with respect to healthcare benefits? The healthcare benefits are already provided by the state. It means there's more job mobility, which means more labor mobility, which means more negotiating power for workers. It means that small businesses have more power vis-a-vis the large corporations. And when combined with just enforcing the monopoly regulations that we already have on the books, it means that I can empower the small scale organic farmer against the agribusiness. It means that I can empower the small business against the large corporation. All of that is good for business. I want California to be a place that has lots of millionaires and that billionaires don't like how much they have to pay in taxes. Right? That 683 billion, if that was distributed through 10,000 millionaires, then there would be a lot more money in the economy, would there not? So we want that money circulating because that's y'all's money, right? And so there's lots of different ways that just by doing something that is socially good and important, because it's first of all just a moral obligation to take care of the sick. It's a moral obligation to take care of the disabled. And by the way, while I'm at it, everybody is aging away from disability. Everybody is one accident or one fall away from disability. Disability affects everyone, and we have to stop pretending like it doesn't. One of the hardest things for me, because in West Africa, me having an autistic son is no problem in any social space, because the community is designed to distribute care. He can be visible. It doesn't bother people when things go wrong. The community actually takes care of disability. In these colonial societies, they want to hide everything that is abnormal from sight. And we have to fight back against that at every level. So thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
I just want to add that Dr. Ware will be participating in a disability rights advocacy forum coming up on May 19th.
May 19th. Thank
So
you for that. Yep.
Please make sure you follow him at Butch Ware so that you can see when that flyer drops online. But stay tuned for that. And thanks for the question.
Yeah, and thanks for that reminder. You see, I have an amazing team. We've got, incredible people. Thank you, Crystal. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you so much for coming and giving this talk. It's always very inspiring. I've been watching a lot of your content, really behind your campaign and your message. But I wanted to ask, how would you address Democrats or kind of people that are still lingering on the left, really, that still feel like Democrats are like a good option for them, sort of, somehow? I don't know. But I've got some friends, I've got some family that are still kind of like hardline leftist or kind of still for the Democratic Party. So what would be your message to them, or what could I even like say to them?
So the first thing that I would say is just make sure you draw a distinction between liberals and leftists, because liberals are not leftists. So they might be on the left of the imperialist spectrum, but they're definitely not the leftist, because the left begins with anti-capitalism, the left begins with anti-imperialism. And I'm gonna give you two answers to this. Okay, I'll try to be brief in each. The first is that if you want to conduct that argument, then the way to do it is to make the appeal in terms of their values and the failure of the Democrat Party to deliver according to their liberal value system. So on Tavis Smiley the other day, I asked the Black community, have the Democrats protected DEI? Have they protected affirmative action? Have they protected the Voting Rights Act? Have they protected a woman's right to choose? Okay, so like Malcolm said, you put them first and they put you last, and that makes you a chump, a political chump, right? So let's say I'm a liberal, and I've never been a liberal. I mean, but let's say I'm a liberal for the purposes of the conversation. I say that I want these specific things, but I know that this party as constituted is incapable of delivering it. And then ask them where they see Gavin Newsom on the political spectrum compared to Ronald Reagan. Right? Because neoliberalism, which is what has taken over the Democrat Party, which was introduced really by Bill Clinton, has the current iteration of the Democrats so far to the right of Reagan that you actually can't see Reagan from where Gavin Newsom is currently standing. So just in terms of their own value system and their own history, that will be the way to make that appeal. And let me be clear, you're dealing with cult deprogramming, right? They have been conditioned over and over again to accept this despicable, violent system as the only system that can exist. And they actually experience it as an existential crisis to have their belief system about it threatened. So that's the bad news, and that's also the approach that I would take. The good news, y'all want to hear the good news? Yeah. I already hinted to it earlier. We actually don't need them. Right. We don't need them. All we have to do is energize the group that will get us to 1.2 million votes, and we actually don't need libs for that. And the reason why, part of the reason why I targeted this specific election was because of that jungle primary format. Because if we finish in the top 2 on June 2nd, the general election is already won. There is no scenario in which they can beat us in the general. And the reason is if it's me versus blue, where is their lesser of two evils argument? And where is their viability argument against the Green Party if I've already finished in the top 2 in the primary? So it's checkmate. They have no, and by the way, where are all the centrist, where are the Latinos for Trump gonna vote when they hear the way that I savage Gavin Newsom? Do you know how many Black conservatives follow me on Instagram? Right? Because I'm an equal opportunity banger. And I've said, I don't think that your average Trump voter is any more racist than your average liberal. I work in academia. I know lots of racist liberals, right? I said, what I think is that your average Trump voter doesn't see a difference between blue criminals and red criminals, and all other things being equal, would rather pay lower taxes. Yeah. And so I'm not demonizing those voters. So who do you think they're going to vote for? The one from outside of the system that's an anti-Zionist at a time when centrist and right-wing thinkers are unplugging from the Zionist, IV. We're going to inherit a lot of those red voters. And we're also going to take that lesser of two evils argument off the table. And then imagine that somehow one of the Republican candidates were to get through, and it's me versus a Republican. Easiest election on earth to win, because all of those terrified libs will suddenly become y'all's best friends. Right? So as a strategic matter, I would not spend a lot of time arguing with Blue MAGA in the comments section of posts. And I'm the first person to violate my own rule. I be arguing with them in the comment section all the time. Even though my wife is like, are you arguing in the comment section again? And I'm like, yeah, I know. So all that's just to say, there is a route of argument, but I would not spend a lot of time on that. I would spend a lot of time getting the word out to our communities that we know are in need, we know are hurting, and who are ready for a different kind of leadership. So like my vision, like one of the best endorsements that we got was from a group of former street organization leaders in San Diego who run violence prevention and gun violence prevention programs in the city, right? And I said, listen, I'm not gonna give money to cops to do violence prevention programs. I'm giving money to respect the community leaders who know the community and who are not out there trying to kill our people, right? So all of that is just to say that activated street organization networks to start doing canvassing for our campaign. One of the proudest moments, I know my wife Clem will remember this, because I woke her up. It was like, hey babe, the such and such just dropped. It was literally one of those moments, because I woke up and on my phone, I saw that Jill and I got the endorsement of the Almighty Vice Lord Nation, which is one of the biggest street organizations. And it was like 6 a.m. I was like, we got the endorsement of the Vice Lords. And she was like, who is that? It's like the Bloods, but in the Midwest. And she was like, dope. And then she went back to sleep. So all that's just to say is go for the lumpen proletariat. Go for the people that are left out of the system. Don't worry about unplugging libs from their MSNBC drip. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Ware. My name is Jefferson Azevedo. I'm a member of the Harriet Tubman Center for Social Justice. Thank you for being here. It's interesting because a lot of the questions that I had in mind, you already answered them. But you mentioned against the system, you know,
Yes.
we need to change the system.
Yes, sir.
Well, I fully agree with that statement. But I also believe that elections are a great way to go through, but it's not enough.
Definitely not.
So my question to you is, what would you do? And also as the Green Party, what would the Green Party do to change the system if you get elected, you know?
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned like the 1.2 million votes necessary.
Yeah.
And also see what is the support that the unions are giving? We know that they support a lot the Democrats, which are against the workers.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Those are my questions to you.
Yeah, excellent. I'll answer the last part first, and then we'll circle back. The leadership of unions is in bed with the Democrat establishment, and they have actively colluded to try to silence this campaign multiple times. The first large candidate debate was held by SEIU Local 1000. Me, Katie Porter, Javier Becerra. It was video recorded. They will not release the video. We have leaked audio of it because it was a bloodbath. I dismantled them. I got standing ovations in every single time that I gave a speech. Hold on, it gets worse. They closed the door. They did a vote of the union membership in the room, 1,000 people. The top two vote getters from the Democrats were Porter and Becerra, and I beat them combined. And they did not even invite me to their formal endorsement process. So understand that the unions are in bed with the Democrats, and they betray their rank and file because they get lots of cushy creature comforts to do so. And sorry, remind me the first question. The elections. Yeah, how to use elections not going far enough.
The system.
Yeah, how do we change the system? Thank you. So when Jill asked me if I would run as the vice president, I was inclined to say no. And the reason is that I actually don't believe in electoral politics like that. I think part of the reason why I can appeal to people who don't believe in voting is because I don't believe in it any more than they do. I don't think that it's a solution by itself, but I went back to Malcolm's speech, The Ballad of the Bullet, which he delivered in 1964. And he said, we're gonna knock on every door in Harlem and we're gonna register every black face behind every door, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. We're gonna say, show us your card. And whoever has not registered themselves, we will have words with them and we might just move them out of town. It's going to be the Ballad of the Bullet. So when I went back and heard Malcolm, my hero and the most committed revolutionary thinker that I know, saying that not only is electoral politics a path to power, but it is a mandatory path, right? Because by any means necessary means by all available means, including electoral means. However, you cannot think that electoral means are sufficient. They are necessary, but not sufficient. Right? So for me, you'll see on our website, it says mutual aid plus direct action plus electoral power, because I see what I'm doing as trying to grow the Green Party into the party that serves as the electoral arm of a broader movement for collective liberation. Right? Now, with respect to the changing of the system, this is why I accepted the invitation, is that the Greens have had as policy positions for decades now, abolition of the Electoral College. The Electoral College is a fundamental form of disenfranchisement. The Greens have stood for proportional representation so that you take the winner takes all out of these political arguments, because the winner takes all is the thing that produces the lesser of two evils argument, right? So multi-member districts, ranked choice voting, and proportional representation, and you might actually have a democracy. And what I said to Jill, again, coming back to that moment when she asked me, if I would run, when I said, you better hurry, she said, my goal is to dismantle the American empire. I said, yeah, and you better hurry up and do it quick before somebody do it for you. What I meant by that was that if you take the trillions of dollars that are currently squandered murdering and torturing and kidnapping and genociding other human beings all around the planet, and you invested those instead in fixing this broken democracy, fixing our infrastructure, providing healthcare, providing housing, you invested those things here, divesting from occupation, investing in liberation, then your republic actually might survive the inevitable fall of its empire. The fall of the empire, as we said from the outset, is inevitable, but what happens next depends on us. And the thing is that I don't have anything to look back to in American history. I'm not trying to make America great again. It never worked for my African-American ancestors. It never worked for my Seminole ancestors, for that matter, either, right? But the one thing that I think is actually worth fighting for in this place is the idea of representative democracy. It's the idea that our rights and our liberties would be sacred, that our dignity would be sacred, that our liberty would be sacred. And it's never happened for my people, but that doesn't mean that I don't think that it's worth fighting for. I do think that it's worth fighting for, otherwise I wouldn't be fighting, right? So I think that we can bring fundamental, transformative, revolutionary change into the system, and I think that there's no quicker way to do that. I mean, just think about how much of the genocide machine and the war machine is funded just with California money. Can you imagine what it's going to do to this system to have California opt out? One quick note on this, and this is a tangent, but I just want to mention it. In the UK, a plumber named Hannah Spencer won one election, a by-election, which is the equivalent of a special election to elect a Congress member in the US. She won one election, and the UK Greens now have the highest favorability rating of any political party in the UK. They passed Labour and Reform. They passed the equivalents of the Democrats and the Republicans. And that's why they're trying to knock me off the ballot. That's why they're trying to slow our momentum, because what's going to happen if and when we win this election? The Democrat approval rating is at 16%. Trump is carrying the lowest approval ratings of any president. 63% of registered voters say that these two parties do such a poor job that we need an independent third party. Y'all don't seem to understand. One election ends the whole system. Malcolm said a ballot is a weapon of war as effective or more effective than a bullet. That's why they're trying to disenfranchise us in this moment, because a well-placed ballot in this moment crashes the whole system.
Thank you, Bush. This is the choir, so I just want to suggest to people, after I talk to Bush, tell three people.
Hold on, round of applause first for Sylvester Rivers, legend, radio legend. Okay, go ahead.
Go home, because we're in the choir, so when you go, people they don't know who they have. Say, go tell three people to vote for Butch Ware. They can look him up and get his information. Then tell those three people. Okay, can I get where everybody? Three.
Okay, Sylvester, I want to thank you for that. I want to underline two things. So first of all, in the hotel lobby, me and my campaign manager were just stopped like 3 minutes apart by people saying, "Hey, you're Butch Ware." So just so you know, we've already reached the point where I can't go outside. I just want you guys to understand that. And you know what? We're gonna do this. Can we get the house lights on just a little bit so I can see the people, or is that not possible at this stage of things? Okay. So yeah, thank you. All right, everybody okay? We still awake? All right. So we're gonna do something that I've never done in a room this big. Okay. How many people in this room, we're going to test the cultural competence of the room. How many people in this room know how to play spades? Okay. So it's like, so we've got all of our black and black adjacent people just raise their hands, right? Okay. So after the cards have been dealt, how do you start a hand in a game of spades? Before anybody plays a card, what happens? It's a partner game, right? You know, you're sitting across from your partner, and the other side sitting across from their partner. So what's the first thing that takes place? Say again? Nope. Come on. You read each other's faces. My wife said you read each other's faces. You have to bid. Do you not? Do y'all forget how to play spades? Okay, so we are going to have to make these mandatory campaign events. We will have spades and sweet tea. Okay, so the way that it works is that I look to my partner and I look at my hands and I say, you know, I got 3 books for sure and maybe a possible, right? And my partner's going to say, I got 4 and a possible, right? So now how many are we going to bid? Y'all don't know how to play spades. We've been in 8 books. We're going to count that 7 that we put in, and we're going to count each of our possibles as a half, and we're going to bid that we're going to win 8 of those books when that hand is played. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Everybody that's sitting here right now has 3 or 4 people that they know that they can get to the next gathering, and they have 3 or 4 possibles. So I want everybody right now to raise their hand and make their bid. The next event that I do here in Los Angeles, how many people are you bringing into that room? What's your bid? And I want you to tell me, because you can think through your head the conversations, the people that you know are aligned with this mission. You count those. I got 3. And then you think about those couple of coworkers at work that will like occasionally share the right kind of stuff, but then be on some bullshit sometimes too. And you're not quite sure how to read them. But then you think, you know what? If I got them in the room and they hear Butch tell it, right? Listen, y'all set up the pins, I'm gonna knock them down, right? So make your bid. All right, so Crystal, you got 5, and how many possible? So Crystal's got 5 and a possible. So that means that Crystal is coming to the next gathering and Crystal's bringing 7 people with her. Are you starting to see the multiplier effect in the room? Who's up next with their bid? Yeah.
So I'm plugged into the Northeast Valley, which is very everything that we're about. And I think there's a lot of apathy right now because they don't even see green.
Yep.
Like as a conversation, let's say.
Yep.
Kind of have a little bit of defeatist. And like we're gonna opt out, which is not the answer.
Right.
So can I recreate flyers, make flyers, do a plug out of performance that I'm doing in May?
Yep.
Like I'm connected with the cultural center there. That's free outside all
Yep.
day, every day. And I feel like if I talk to the right people, got those people on board.
Yep.
They're my friends.
Yep.
We did sweat lodge ceremony together. Like these are my girls, you know, like that I could create momentum there and not because ableism is real.
Yeah.
Gas is real.
Yeah.
Not everybody, like this is far for me from where I
Yep.
live, but I happen to be 15 minutes in an area for a work event earlier.
Got you.
The day of it.
Yeah.
But like
Thank you for doing
you
that.
can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
So so we have the blessing to make bootleg
Yep.
buttons or make unofficial merch.
Yep.
I thought about making my own lawn sign because I live on the boulevard. So is that okay?
Of course. And not only that, but we can supply you. Like we are the plug for all of that. We will get you stickers, put them on every bus stop. We will get you yard signs. We have a dozen different people that made their own overpass signs to hang over freeways. Yes.
I bid
100. Okay. All right. So if that's what it is, then what I'll just come out and speak in your community. Let me do that. Because you said I can't be everywhere. But I concede nothing. I'm gonna in my own head, I can be in at least 3 places at once. And my wife knows that I sleep about 3 hours a night. So we'll find a way to make it work. 5 weeks, we'll sleep later. Yeah, how many can you get? Or do you have a question?
I'm ambitious, so I'll leave the numbers for a sec. But I've been building coalitions here for many years. I'm involved in immigrant rights organizing, so there's some immigrant rights coalitions here in the state of California. There's also the KSEP coalition.
Can I sit down for this part? Damn. All right.
So So there's also a coalition of syringe exchange programs, and we specialize in harm reduction, healthcare, overdose prevention, and overdose, and just getting safe supplies to unhoused folks who use drugs.
Yeah.
So what I want to offer is we can't all be in the same place at
Correct.
once, but I belong to multiple coalitions. I'm a coalition organizer. I can organize virtual spaces.
Wonderful.
In which either you or someone from your campaign can speak. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, organizing virtually as well. And organizing coalition spaces. I'm happy to project too, but yeah, coalition building. Let's do it.
Excellent. So outstanding. So I mentioned that I have a special needs son. I split custody time with my ex, so I have him every other weekend. When I have Idris at home, we do basically all of our programming virtually. So my campaign manager is here. We can literally put it on the schedule right now for one of the weekends where I'm not going to be on the road traveling, and we can make that virtual gathering happen. By the way, we are going to be having an online virtual fundraiser. I think is the May 9th with Roger Waters. From Pink Floyd. I don't know if you guys know, but Roger Waters came and did a benefit concert for us in San Leandro. And we just got our first max donation. So Javier Becerra got his first max donation when he started his campaign, and it was from Chevron. Say boo. Yeah. All right. We got our first max donation from Roger Waters. Nice. Yeah. So that was pretty dope. And I feel like getting the endorsement from Roger Waters and from Vic Mensa beats getting the endorsement from Chevron. So let's do it. Let's plan it.
Hey Butch, we got a live stream question here that I thought was kind of interesting. The full question was, once we get in power, how do we keep the revolution from eating its own? But it seems applicable to address that even before we get in power.
This is a beautiful question. Who asked this question?
Let me check here. Just sorry, I'll get it. I'll
We'll
pull
find
them
it.
up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that I put this this cornerstone of an argument in place early that is about dealing with the spiritual harms that come from empire, doing the inner work, right? And it's I set that rhetorical piece up for questions like this. We will not be able to create an emancipated, liberated society if we wait until Freedom Day. We have to be building the healed structures through our revolutionary process now. If we try to stop the hearts from turning after we have already acquired power, all is lost. So what many revolutionaries do, or so-called revolutionaries do, is they put a lot of attention on what they're trying to tear down. I'm always focused on what we are trying to build through the process of our resistance. In the Wolof language, which I learned to speak Wolof fluently for my field research. I did hundreds of hours of oral history interviews in the Senegalese countryside. And in Wolof, they say, the child of Adam does not release what their hand is holding until they're reaching for something better. That people will literally hold on to a system that brutalizes them if they are not reaching for something. And so often we're so focused on what we're tearing down that we're not talking about what we're trying to construct. So the first part of the answer to the question is how we keep the revolution from being derailed after we become successful is by abolitionist practices of accountability and inner work and healing and community through the revolutionary work that we're doing now. We have to build it in the revolutionary struggle. And then on the other side of it, and this part is critical, and I'm just gonna say this. You guys can take this however you want to take this. But your leadership has to be incorruptible. And the thing is that I sit up here with these prayer beads and I learned to speak Wolof because I sat for years with actual West African Sufi masters. I know I come across as chesty and loud, and where I grew up, you had to be that way. Otherwise, you were going to get overlooked. But the thing is that I'm not doing any of this for me. I'm not doing any of this for me. I would rather be home with my wife and my son and my books. That's what I love. But I was tagged into a fight, so I'm not going to quit until the fight is won. But because there's nothing in this space that I want that is more dear to me than our collective liberation, there is nothing that they will ever be able to offer me that will ever cause me to betray you. In the Islamic tradition, there was a moment where they came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because his mission was not just theological, it was a social revolution. He was arguing against the greed and the consumerism and the strong eating the weak and the abuse of power and the misogyny in the society. And they tried to buy him off. They said, we'll give you whatever title you want. You can be a chief. We'll give you piles of gold. And his response to them was to say, if you were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would not desist. And that is my oath to you. They don't have anything that they can offer me that is more dear to me than our liberation. It's all I've wanted since I was a little kid.
Oh, thank you. I'm Lynn, and I'm a recovering liberal. And formerly nice white lady for decades, voting blue no matter who.
Yes.
And I'm not doing that anymore.
Raise your hand if you're a recovering liberal. It's okay. Good. See? Good. We love you. And y'all are the best people. My mom is one of y'all. Like,
Yeah, well, I'm probably older than your mom.
Okay.
Greg Stoker called me the Sonoma Valley wine auntie. So I'm like addicted to his podcast.
Yes.
And so thank you and your team for providing me, because I'm a digital marketer and
Yes.
community builder. So I do it digitally. I live in San Diego. I invited 4 LA friends to come today.
Yeah.
I have 2 here. With, you know, like wherever you show up that's anywhere close to me, I
Yeah.
will go, and I will always invite people. But the digital piece for me
Yes.
is easy. And I do it every single morning. Ask my husband.
Yeah.
Every single morning I'm on there, and I'm not just doom scrolling. I'm finding content that you've provided or that you've appeared on, like the Black Power Network
Yep.
forum that you did
Yep.
the other night. That blew my mind. And as soon as I saw, pardon my Detroit accent, that blew my mind, because I know every single candidate was invited and only 7 showed up. And you blew it out of the water. Like, so I sent that recording to everybody, and I understand this is also going to be a replay on YouTube. So I'm sending YouTube replays to people that are key to hear your messaging,
Yeah.
because I believe you're in this for all of us and yourself and your family. So thank you.
Thank
So
you.
digitally, I'm going to multiply a lot
Excellent.
more.
Yeah, and for everybody that can share, for everybody that can reshare, you know, the algorithm, as you know, so 4 Zionists have purchased all of the social media, right? So everything that is a threat to Zionism is being systematically knocked down by the algorithm. So the more that we can do organically to share one another's content and to spread the word, the more damage that we're going to do. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. My dad asked that question. Oh, it was your dad. Okay, Hassan's dad. Oh, can we get a round of applause for Hassan Abdul Wahid? Hold on. So just so you know, he's done professional videography for our Roger Waters concert. Everything that he's not already booked, this is what he does for a living. He will not let us pay him. He has donated his professional talent to the campaign. And when you see the Matrix video that we shot, I'm not kidding. When I said I give people the green pill, so a union shop donated us the use of their soundstage, which we could never afford, for a full day. They actually did this twice. And we recorded Matrix, the pill scene with me as Morpheus, throwing away the blue pill and the red pill and giving the green pill to @retrospectively. Do you guys know retrospectively on Instagram? So Ray is Neo. And that thing's gonna drop. Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. And Hassan was a real pain in the ass when we were shooting that thing because he's a professional. So like literally he like one more take. Yeah. That part. Yeah, one more take. Nope, say it this way, look toward the camera. Yeah, all right. So